All right. Well, I just want to say hello to every one of us. How you are doing today? It's a beautiful evening. And quickly, so I just have about 1 or 2 minutes to spend here. And what do I want to talk about in this 1 or 2 minutes? I just would like to talk about the announcement by Netflix that they are canceling all original series from Nigeria. So, again, this is not a surprise to me. Why? Because 4 years ago, I foresaw this and I warned against the sudden corporate hijack or overtake of the Nigerian film industry by global streaming platforms like Netflix, like Amazon, and YouTube. So, in an article that I wrote in year 2020, specifically about Tunde Kelani, the title of that article is The Dissident Author, Tunde Kelani and the Corporatization of Nollywood Film. In that article, I talked about how Tunde Kelani will, refrain from putting his movies on Netflix and on these other global platforms. Why? Because of the way the authorial control is being manipulated, and importantly, we have to understand what this means because this was the same antique, probably, of colonial masters in the your days of colonizations in Africa. What that means is we're talking about colonization back then, whereby colonial powers, Belgium, France, and every one of them, so they will attach a stringent measure to funds given to filmmakers in Africa. That was in the period of celluloid, on what kind of movie they can produce and what kind of movie they cannot produce. So based on all of this, so there were restrictions on African films produced in the 1960s, 1970s, way before many African countries became independent because these colonial powers, especially France, so were so high-handed in the ways they handled control. So what could be shown, what could not be shown. So, and the kind of images they wanted Africans to put in the movies, and that saw the rise of filmmakers like the late Usman Sembène, so who revolted against those kind of dictatorial tendencies, and in a way began something beautiful for Africans, what we now dub African cinema today. And that's for that singular act and many of that. So it was dubbed the father of African cinema because he introduced African languages to African cinema. And then we use mise en scène from Africa. Communities and different settings, societal values, and incorporate them in his movies just to speak back to the empire. The act of speaking back to the empire, the idea of cinematic revolution so happened, and again there was the first Paco. I don't want to talk about all of that today, but I'm specifically speaking to the idea of Netflix canceling original series from Nigeria. If you remember, series like Anikulapo and also Shanty Town, so original series that Netflix commissioned. And Netflix has come to say, you know what, we are not going to do this anymore. So why? We don't know. Netflix just had a dinner, like a gala for all the film producers. And then before the main event, so before the party started, Netflix said, this is the last time we are having an original from Nigeria. So that sudden announcement was, a kind of, what do you call it? Yoruba people will say, you will say, a kind of a confusion, because what that means is for you, the audience, especially those of you in the diaspora, you will not get to enjoy the series you've been looking forward to see, like the continuation of the Anikulapo series and all of that. You won't see that. And you may not even see a series like King of Boys, so that you are looking to watch again and all of that. So this is saying something big, and what that is saying is, for me, I think it's a kind of an economic control of the Nigerian film industry. An economic control in the sense that Nollywood is the second biggest film industry in the world. So after Bollywood, in terms of size and in terms of film produced, not even Hollywood is second. So Nollywood is big, but the bigness of Nollywood is a kind of what we call a pseudo a pseudo bigness, if you want to put it that way. So it's not necessarily the reality. Why is that so? Because Nollywood is big in terms of how creative these filmmakers are, but the problem with Nollywood is that it lacked an authentic local or indigenous distribution platform. So it's one thing for you to produce, another for you to be able to distribute. Remember, that is the same problem with resource distribution in Africa. So Nigeria produces petroleum, crude oil, but are we able to distribute that crude? Are we able to make it available to people? That is still a challenge. We produce, but we can't distribute, and that's the reason why Nigerians are paying premium to have petrol or even petrol products, available to them. So the same thing with Nollywood. Nollywood is big. Many creatives who will produce, world-class movies, who are ready to go extra mile to just tell rich, authentic African stories, and that films that will add global perspectives to African worldviews and all of that. But the problem is you can have all of that, but you can't create that if you don't have fund. So Netflix has the fund, Amazon Prime, they have the fund, but they are saying we are no longer, interested in original stories from Nigeria. So what that is saying is that they are controlling. So what this means is that they are envisaging that the filmmakers are getting too big. Remember, if you have a film on Netflix, whether we like it or not, these filmmakers are cashing in. They are being paid in dollars, and when they change that to local currencies, they have a premium for their efforts. But Netflix is saying we don't want to do that. That there is a control. And how do you manage this kind of situation? You manage this kind of situation by creating an indigenous system of distribution. Remember, in 2008, before its demise, Alade Aromere was trying to do something like that. He was trying to create, a film village. So, but he died suddenly, and that project did not, see the light of the day. So that's a problem with many of those kind of innovative approaches. So what am I saying? I'm saying that the filmmakers and also the former what we call them, the former producers, what you call marketers, the Alaba marketers, they were very instrumental to the global status of Nollywood, but they also became greedy at a point. So this is a time for everybody to come together and say, okay, we are distributing Nollywood locally before, and we are circulating it globally. What can we do now? This is where every one of them needs to come together and put efforts together to create a platform that will locally sustain Nollywood in Nigeria and within the African countries. If we don't do that, if we continue to rely on Netflix and Amazon, they'll continue to tell us how we can do, how to create our art and how to, distribute our art. And, at any point in time, they can really shut us down because we are relying on them. We are not thinking, inwardly, locally, and we are not devising indigenous methods of circulation. Film circulation is a big deal. Anybody can produce, but how do you circulate? In this age of global distribution and also technical, overtake. So, digital technology, I think it's easy, if not easier than before, for Nigerian filmmakers to really be able to pull this through, to create a system that will see to a proper distribution of movies made in Nigeria. So, I want, 4 years ago in an article that I wrote, I call it, like I said, the Dissident Otio Tunde Kelani and the corporatization of the Nigerian film industry, Nigerian Nollywood films. So there I said, Netflix and Amazon, they are behaving like cuckoo bird who will not incubate our own egg, but probably will look for a nest, hijack the nest and dump our eggs there for another another bird to hatch for her. So which means these people, these platforms, they are reaping where they did not sow. And the reason why people like filmmakers, authors like Tunde Kelani were recalcitrant, at first, so and still up until now to really make sure that they have their films on Netflix. So this is the reason why filmmakers like Tunde Kelani, you don't really see their movies streamed on this platform, because they understand art is for the people and the authorial control must not be tampered with. So now Netflix is, hammering Nigerian filmmakers. Netflix is saying we are not going forward with this. What is the way forward? Read that article and you see that the same fate that befell celluloid production in Africa is the same that is happening to digital film production in Africa now, and in this case Nollywood. And I've warned against that until we create something authentic and indigenous, we are setting Nollywood up for failure. And one issue that we also have to address again is this issue of partitioning. So Nollywood is a big name, and that name should represent the film industry of Nigeria. We don't need names like Kannywood to represent the Hausa film industry. We don't need names like Yollywood. These labels are not necessary. They are just distractions. If you know you make religious films, let it be known that the genre that's coming from the north is mainly religious, and that is okay. Everything can still be under Nollywood. The question is, must we label everything according to ethnic coloration in Nigeria? Until we settle that, we may not even have this one big platform that we are clamoring for, and Nollywood is too big to fail. So on that note, I just want to say, let me know your reactions. Let me know what you think. Suggest ways for Nigerian filmmakers who some months ago were being paid in dollars, and now they don't even have a market to sell to. How do they do that? Is it film houses, cinema houses? What else do you think they could do? And what do you think actually is the best way to address these kind of foreign impositions, that will hinder film production and the kind of aesthetics we've been enjoying from the Nigerian creatives? All right, so thank you so much for listening to me, and I'll see you another time. Bye.